everybody. I guess we have a meeting to get to. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Call the meeting to order. Approval agenda approval.
I'll move to approve the approval agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. My dyslexia must have kicked in there, huh? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public input. Once again, doesn't look like we have any public input, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Okay. Does anybody want to make a motion for the consent agenda?
I will.
All right, thank you, David.
I'll second.
Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Old business. Potential sale of HRA-EDA property located on 3rd Street East in Park Rapids.
So there's two parts to this agenda item. The first part is to talk about the context and process. And then the second part, we'll close the meeting and discuss the value of the real property to put on this. So, as you know, the HRA has 2 lots that are on 3rd Street. They are located almost directly across from the Cornerstone apartment buildings. You acquired that in 2014, and at that time, there was no particular plan in place for it. It was just held for a period of time. And there has been some interest in the potential to acquire that from an outside party. Per your requirements, we would have sort of 2 opportunities, and I think that this one is more appropriately using the RFP process, so that if you are interested in going ahead and allowing for a party to, or parties to consider purchasing that, you would issue an RFP for the parcels and then set a minimum price, allow a certain period of time for them to respond, and that response would include intended use for the property. And then at that time, you can make a determination whether or not that makes sense. I put in the dates assuming that we could, if you wanted to move forward with this, there would be a due date for the proposal of August 14th, which would then allow for a public hearing to be scheduled. We would just assume that the public hearing would be scheduled at your August 18th meeting. So we'd notice it, and then whatever proposals that we would receive, we could review prior to the public hearing and then hold the public hearing if you want to move forward with that. As always, you would have the option to accept the proposal and sell or not. So you could kind of look at that. We used this same paperwork and process for the other commercial lot that you sold here just a while ago. So that's the process part. So the question is, are you okay with that kind of process, and do you want to extend the timeline for responses? That gives roughly 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks for people to respond. We can always make it much longer and then look at a public hearing in September instead.
Board's wishes?
And a comment that I'm gonna make later about the Farden parcels is gonna say that in August, I'm gonna have more information about that process, and would ask you to set a date for a public hearing related to those parcels in September. It might just be good to wait till August to set the date for the public hearing, and then we could do that relative to both of them.
Sounds good. Okay.
So then we would likely move forward with this process, but we would have a longer response period with the expectation then that we can hold off and do this public hearing, and which gives people a little bit more time to respond. If they haven't even thought about it, then they have more time to respond, so.
So do we just do this? I noticed the timeline shows posting it online. Do we post it anywhere else, you know, like in any of the newspapers or anything like that?
Yes, we do an ad in the paper as well. So we do a legal ad for the posting of it as
Okay.
well. Mhm.
Would we be looking at posting it as early as what's on the, tomorrow?
We probably won't get it posted until, so,
like a month from now or something?
well, it would post, the timeline for the paper is that it won't make it for Saturday's paper, so it would probably like be Wednesday's paper, or a week from Saturday, so it could take us some time, and so then, but now, if we're gonna wait, originally when we were doing this, I thought we were already gonna do the Fardin Township in August, but that got delayed. So now that gives us a ability to include a good month for people to respond, assuming whatever date, so whatever date we get it in the paper, I'll look at a month for the deadline.
Okay.
And are you gonna run it just one time in the paper?
Yes.
Okay.
It's expensive.
Expensive, I know, that's why I asked.
It's expensive, but we will post it online and keep it there continually.
Okay.
So if that process makes sense, we should have a motion to move forward with the RFP process. And then the next item will then be to set the minimum price.
I'll make that motion
Thank
to
you.
move forward.
Second.
Thank you, David. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then, two, is we need to go into a closed session?
We could do that, or could we do that in August and do them both?
Sure.
Because I won't have the pricing information for the others, so
Yeah.
it might just make sense to bring that information all to the August one.
Okay.
We can't post the RFP without the price.
Yeah,
No, I know. Yeah, okay, then we can do with this one now if you want to.
Sure.
I'll make a motion to move into closed session.
Thank you,
I'll
Charlotte.
second.
Steve? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are in closed session.
As soon as I click the right button.
I'll make a motion
Thank
for
you.
the minimum bid to be 35,000.
I'll second.
Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. New business, industrial park marketing.
I was contacted by the Melissa Beach, who is a economic development marketing person with Minn Kota Power. And they have the potential to provide marketing assistance for industrial lots. And I've known that for quite some time, but she was wondering how we are with our timing of that whole development and if it might make sense for us to start thinking about doing the marketing. What they provide in services is they'll do a drone flyover and then help create marketing brochures and then be able to help us get our site through our HLDC. We have an on-site directory of available properties. So they'll help to make sure that, right now we just have it listed, but we'll get all of that so that it's ready to go. And given that we're pretty far along the path, so we've really identified what that parcel is that's going to remain for potential development, it seems like now would be the time to start preparing those marketing materials so that we can look at some business attraction opportunities there. They're looking at doing the drone in, because when they come, they time it for several flights and get the appropriate permits. So they're looking at August and September. Again, we don't have to pay anything for all of these services. It's just part of that. And Minn Kota, Beltrami Electric is the actual service provider in that area, and they're a member of the Minn Kota Cooperative. And so that's where that's coming to play.
So as far as costs, so there wouldn't be anything for the drone flyover, or will there eventually sometime be some costs involved for the marketing?
If you would want to post it in some sort of ad, or, you know, do something more than what we're looking at right now. A lot of times there's the brochure creation, you know, we have the capacity, once it's created, we can just print it in our office, and so then there's not that much. It's the graphic design services, and they can do all of those things and make sure that all of the right things are said when it comes to marketing the materials or marketing the land. We can also have some conversations about if there's a specific industry that we want to target, then maybe we would want to place an ad in some sort of a industry specific something.
Yeah.
That would be the kinds of costs that we would have to incur, and that would be in the future only based on specific, but the whole creation of the materials at this point is free.
Okay. Board's wishes?
Yeah, I like it. You looking for a motion? Yeah.
And I would imagine that it would be great to have your support, since it's no cost. I don't know that you have to make a motion, but it does show that, you know, you're supportive of them moving on this next step.
Okay. So I guess the consensus of the board would be to, and I agree, that this is the next step. I know that there might be some neighbors in Fardin Township that maybe think we're moving too fast, but we're basically seeing what industries or businesses might be interested.
Right, exactly. And I think that based on, I wasn't at the last Fardin meeting, but the last plan that has been created has fallen on some pretty willing or accepting of the neighborhood. So I think that this plan of that lower from, south of the rail tracks is really approved by most of the folks up there. And so that's why I feel a little bit more comfortable getting our property out there.
Alrighty.
I would have a few comments to add about that. One is the individual lots that we've agreed we're gonna be parceled out north of the tracks along 500th Street. That work is being done, the survey work is being done. When I have that, then I can bring that to you along with pricing recommendations. That we'd also go through a very similar process for those lots as we did for any other EDA-owned lot. We'd have to have a public notice and we'd have to establish a minimum price. I would propose in that situation that we work with a Bemidji Realtor to represent all of them, to try to negotiate the rate so that once we make them available, they can do everything and just send us money. I have also had conversations with an adjacent property owner who said, if this is what's gonna happen, my property is available for sale. It creates a significant opportunity, and one of them is it creates frontage on County Road 9, direct frontage on County Road 9 that we don't currently have.
Would it, excuse me for interrupting, would it then maybe eliminate the need to turn the other 80 acres to the south of tax forfeited land?
Potentially.
Okay.
Potentially, yes. That other 80s of tax forfeited land, I think, would be very last and very unlikely to be developed.
Okay.
This is 200 acres.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an option out there. I think that the marketing with Minn Kota is, and they were the ones that approached us a few years ago to say there are people looking for 100-acre parcels to do, where they have the ability to spread out and do that kind of thing. And what we need somebody to identify what that first one is gonna be, right? And honestly, I think there's an opportunity to simply say consensus that if an opportunity presents itself, we would be in a position and have an option to consider those additional acres, because that makes this happen. Not committing to that, not asking for that now, just saying that that's a possibility. On the other work, WSN is continuing the work relative to the rail crossings, and the improvement on County 101, and everything that they're doing right now. And then the connector from 101 back over to 315th, all of that is necessary and gonna be done anyway, right? And most of that is funded between the railroad and MnDOT relative to the cost of the closings and the rerouting. The only other thing that we've said yes to them to do is to design a driveway to get into the existing parcels, which is not gonna be a significant component of the contract that we have with them. And that's the only thing that might change if we end up actually having frontage on County Road 9.
Okay.
Just because 9 is already a 9-ton road. That would be the way to come in. We don't come through town. They can get out to 371. It's about a mile and a half, 2 miles from there. It's pretty easy access to that point. So I bring those things up because you're gonna see that survey work and that platting done, and in conversations with Tim and Varden Township, we're gonna go with the 9 parcels. The surveyor recommended going with smaller parcels, and Varden Township wanted it to appear like we had shown in the picture. So that's how it's gonna appear, and should be done, as soon as I know that it's gonna be on the agenda for the Planning Commission, then we can put it on this agenda to hold the public hearing to sell those properties. And I assume that we're gonna at least be able to hold the public hearing to say we're gonna dispose of that property in September.
Thank you.
This is a good time for the marketing with Minn Kota.
Yes. Perfect time.
So we're all set there, so we'll move on to number 8, the director
And I just have a couple things to update you on. First of all, we were able to get the inspector that we've been using for the Small Cities program over to Regency, and it was for sure, we can't really do significant changes to the heating system, but we can upgrade it to a more efficient system, but we can't do anything sort of more high-tech. So that's the plan. And then just before I came over here, I did notice that Minnesota Energy has a special commercial boiler system replacement rebate. And as long as we do it installed by August 31st. So I'm gonna work really hard to get that whole heating system ironed out, so we have that figured out and then can take advantage of the rebate as well. The audit for 2025 is continuing to move forward. I'm thinking that we're really close to wrapping it up, so we should have that for you to review at your August meeting. And then I would really like for us to think about broadly how the HRA wants to think about its existing housing and future housing as it relates to sort of all of the things going on in the communities that we serve. So those are really kind of the three things.
Mary, how many empty lots do we still hold in Park Rec?
I was just gonna ask that.
That's your last one.
That is the last one?
That is the last one.
And then,
There's one in Nevis that
Okay.
you hold yet.
Did we sell that one in Nevis?
Well, that was sort of during the middle of the transition and adding the EDA authority, so
Oh, it
we
got
sort of
dropped.
put a pause on that.
Okay.
We did have, right at that time, there was a individual who had made an offer.
Yep.
But we haven't, we were all doing that, and so we can loop back around if that's something that you really want us to entertain. I can loop back around with
Yep.
that individual.
was that the neighbor?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that's who it was.
Mr. Chair, I would like her to.
Okay, I agree.
Okay.
do that.
And then that would really be all the sort of excess property that you
Yep.
own that you would have taken care of. Other than now, we've got the 40 acres up in
Yeah.
Barden for housing, and then we have the industrial park. And so those are active that we're working on right now.
We don't have anything in the city of LaPorte.
We do not,
And neither in Egley?
and neither in Akeley. I know that there's some tax forfeit
Forfeit.
parcels that, we may wanna take a look at and see if we could, develop something, but, that would be, and that's sort of related to the conversation, is there are opportunities that we could look at serving some of the other communities with some projects, but we should take a temperature of the board and see sort of where you're at in, how aggressive you wanna get with some of those kinds of things. I will tell you that I am looking at, finding a way to work with Sourcewell to create some standardized pricing for housing development. I'm not quite sure what that looks like yet, but, one of the things I thought is that with their nationwide contracts, could we figure out a way to, get access for contractors who would build to be able to get some better pricing? Somehow to, trying everything I can do to kind of chip away at some of the costs of housing.
To say build 10 homes at a given price and
And then
then
here's,
offer them for sale.
Yeah, and then here's what your material
Yep.
price is, because we're taking advantage of the nationwide Sourcewell. From the county perspective, you have the Sourcewell list, you just go on there and you see exactly what it costs for something. So that kind of scenario a little bit is what we're gonna entertain.
Is there a way
Really
that
out
we-
of the bookends, but we'll see.
Is there a way that local could still be involved as a source to buy from, or would that take it out of local?
Well, that's one of my concerns about this whole thing, is that there's certain materials that we don't want to outprice or, get, that we have local lumber yards that we clearly,
Right.
Want to take advantage of.
Yep.
And I don't know how that whole structure works. I just had the very initial conversation with an individual at Sourcewell last week, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to sort of think about that. And the HLDC board will talk about it on Monday to see, really what it's gonna take is an organization to take the lead and sort of negotiate and figure out how to make this all work. And so that's, I don't know, and it may or may not be a good thing. It may not, it might be a pie in the sky dream that doesn't help anything. But I'd like to at least pursue a little bit to see if it might help, so. That's all I have.
Alrighty. Is there anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Sure.
Thank you, Shar.
I'll second.
Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion? We're adjourned.